as we all know by now, because we're experts at this, hurricane season is here. It's a very important time of the year. It's something that everybody in the city of New Orleans and the metropolitan area of the state of Louisiana is very familiar with. I want to welcome Ken Graham with the National Weather Service, of course Chief Mike Harrison, Chief Tim McConnell, Dr. Elder from Emergency Medical Services, Aaron Miller, who's the Director of Homeland Security, Cedric Grant, Executive Director of Surge and Water Board, Charlotte Parrott, the Director of Health, and we have representatives with us from the State Police. Carl Cezanne is with us, as is always. Colonel Hanson from the Corps of Engineers is here. We also have representatives of the Coast Guard and various and sundry other local representatives of Entergy, the Aviation Board, the tourism industry, everybody that is responsible for making sure that people are aware of and can move in and around the city is here with us. And I'm also thrilled to be joined by Council members Greg Brissett and Cantrell, who are always great partners and great leaders when we have difficult times coming our way and when things are going well. Tomorrow, June 1st, the hurricane season officially starts. It goes through the 30th of November. This year, NOAA is predicting a 70% likelihood of 10 to 16 named storms. Now, they will call this a normal season, but normal means that we have a lot of storms coming our way. That is the normal state of affairs in and around the New Orleans area. So when you hear that it's going to be a normal season, the first thing you need to know is not to go to sleep, but to get ready, because that is the thing that matters. Secondly, we would like to say to you that every storm, like children, is different. Every one of them. It doesn't matter whether they're called a Category 1 or a Category 5. They're all different. Isaac was a great example of a Category 1 storm that was moving at 5 to 7 miles an hour, that stayed in the Gulf for a long period of time and then hovered over us for a very, very long period of time and delivered more damage to some areas of New Orleans, and actually Katrina did as well. The second thing is that we're no longer just categorizing storms by 1 through 5. We're working off of storm surge models, which the weather folks will tell you about in a bit. But storm surge is actually the #1 cause of death. It's not wind. And so we're going to be paying a lot of attention to not only the strength of the storms through wind, Category 1 through 5, but the storm surge. And there are lots of models that can give us indicators about whether we should ask you to leave your home to evacuate should we think that it gets dangerous enough. It's really critically important throughout this entire process to listen to local officials, the governor, all of the other officials from around the area, the mayor's office. We all coordinate, we all talk, there's interoperability, and we will do the best we can to give you the best information so that you can prepare. I can just say this, that just before this press conference, all of us met again. Now, each one of these different agencies has been preparing year-round. We have had innumerable tabletop exercises, but always we put public safety first. The most important thing is to save people's lives and to keep everybody safe. Now, in New Orleans, as you know, we have invested $14.5 billion in the levee risk reduction system. We've also spent $1.7 billion in interior drainage projects, which are underway. We also have run through as many different scenarios as we can because we know that every storm is different, and then together we know we can make this happen. Over the last 11 years, through some very, very difficult challenges, we have learned what best practices are, and it's really important that not only we're prepared, but the only way this works is for the citizens to take personal responsibility and to make sure that you have a plan. If you go to nola.ready.gov, there is everything there that you need to make sure that you have a plan that's in place. You can always sign up for the evacuation plan as well. Call 311 to make sure that you're on that list. We have, from time to time, evacuated upwards of 30,000 people, but the most important thing is for you to have your own plan and to have your own evacuation plan in the event that it is called. So again, ready.nola.gov to sign up, ready.nola.gov to look at what it is that you need for a plan. At NOLA Ready is a handle for real-time updates, and to make sure now that you have a plan in place to do what you have to do in the event that we have to ask you to evacuate, which of course we will not do unless we're absolutely certain that it's the most important thing in order to save your life. That's the #1 priority. So I thank everybody for giving us your attention. Hurricanes are very serious. Even if we only have a few hurricanes, it only takes one bad one to turn it into a very, very bad season. So getting ready, being prepared, having a plan, and then listening to us as we kind of walk through what your dangers are going to be really important. So with that, let me call up Chief Michael Harrison, to be followed by the fire department, Tim McConnell, then Dr. Elder, Erin Miller, who's head of Homeland Security, Cedric Grant, Surgeon Waterwood, Charlotte Parent, health directors. We'll hear from our council members, and then we will hear from some of the other local officials that are working for us. Before we do that, though, I'd like to call up the head of the Weather Service, who is going to take us through in more detail some of the things that I just told you about as it relates to weather and storm surge. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of key points, and the Mayor stressed it, and it was wonderful because you can't compare the storms. They're all so different, and we are going into a period where, you know, we've been below average, and average is active, and that point has to be stressed to everybody, because it looks like we're getting into what's called a neutral or La Nina, which is a more active pattern over the Atlantic Basin. So we have to be ready now before the first storm. The number one killer is storm surge, simple as that, and that's the direct killer from hurricanes. The number one indirect killer from a hurricane is cardiac arrest. So it's so critical to be able to listen to the officials. If it's time to get out, it's time to get out, because those are the type of things that can really impact our lives. A couple new things I wanted to stress with the Weather Service. We have some new tools. With storm surge as the number one killer in mind, we have some new tools to really start forecasting storm surge. Within 48 hours, at that point, is when we get a watch. A hurricane watch is issued when tropical storm force winds get any point in Louisiana. And that's usually the southernmost point getting into Plaquemines Parish. At that point, we have some new tools to forecast storm surge, and it's actually an inundation map that'll be available to the agencies to make decisions on. And what's exciting about that map, it's a 90% probability that those values are accurate or less on that map, and it won't change from forecast to forecast. So that's something that the agencies can really act upon and really make some really critical decisions to serve the great citizens of New Orleans. The other part, brand new this year, is an experimental storm surge watch and warning. If storm surge is the number one killer when it comes to a hurricane, we've never had a warning for it. So over the years, we've always had a hurricane watch or warning. It's for the wind. So now we have a specific warning just for that storm surge. So a real life example, Hurricane Ike, a Category 2 large storm that went to Texas. Well, we may not be under a hurricane watch or warning, but we're going to be under a storm surge watch or warning. That's the best way that we can communicate those big dangers to the general public. So we at the National Weather Service, Mayor, we're ready to serve the people of New Orleans, and we'll do whatever it takes to keep the citizens safe.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Chief Michael Harrison, New Orleans Police Department, followed by Chief Tim McConnell.
Thank you, Mayor. During the event of a hurricane, the New Orleans Police Department is fully prepared to handle emergency responses and neighborhood patrols in every area of our city. In the event that we have to, or the need arises, we are prepared to assist with evacuation out of the city and back into the city post-event. And we're also prepared for any water rescues that might need to happen should the need arise. But one thing we want to make very, very clear, that the New Orleans Police Department will be 100% staffed at the event of a hurricane, and we will be willing to take immediate, swift, and certain action for anyone who commits serious crimes against our citizens or businesses in the event of a hurricane. Thank you, Mayor.
Chief Tim McConnell.
Thank you, sir. The New Orleans Fire Department is prepared. We've gone through all of our hurricane plans, updated them, sent everyone to training on those plans. We've gone through some exercises with both our state and federal partners. The thing I want to emphasize is that everyone does listen to the evacuation when the time comes, if it's necessary. Firefighters, police, all the first responders did a fantastic job in every storm and in Katrina, and I can tell you that they do a good job every day. They do a good job when a disaster hits, but I promise you, the best rescue we can do is a good evacuation. When the time comes to get out early, so you're not forcing resources to be deployed to rescue you when you could have gotten out easily. We have a good plan for people who can't get out on their own, people who have transportation needs. Get signed up early, we'll get you in the system, and we'll help you get out of the city. Thank you very much.
Jeff. Dr. Jeff Elder, EMS.
Good afternoon. In the event of a tropical weather event, the New Orleans EMS will bring in full staffing to support the emergency medical needs of the city. Our core duties during a tropical weather event include maintaining continuity of 911 response and capabilities within safe parameters, assessing and providing ambulance transportation for homebound bedridden patients, providing medical service and evacuate triage for city-assisted evacuation if called for, while providing medical support for any parish sheltering operations and EOC needs. Additionally, we're working closely with our state and federal partners regarding healthcare emergency planning and operations during a tropical weather event in the city. As has been stated, now's the time to review your own plans, preparing your own family and homes in case of a threat to our area during hurricane season. Have your supplies ready, including at least 1 week's worth of medications. While going over your evacuation plans one last time, talk to those in your neighborhood, elderly neighbors, friends, relatives, family, to ensure that they are also ready this season. Finally, if anyone that you know or you are requiring special medical needs or require evacuation assistance, please call 311 to be registered in the system. Thank you.
Carl, Cesar from State Police, to be followed by Aaron Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for your leadership here in the city of New Orleans. I just want to say that on behalf of the Louisiana State Police, we've reviewed all of our emergency operation plans, and we stand ready to fully support the New Orleans Police Department. And just as the mayor stressed earlier, now's the time for you to have a plan. And you can go to our website, www.getagameplan.org, and plan for not only a hurricane, but any kind of other natural disaster that may occur. In years past, if you use contraflow as synonymous with evacuations, and it's not. It's an evacuation of last resort. So you want to really pay attention to what city officials are telling you, and if they encourage you to evacuate, then please do so. And just know that if you end up in contraflow, depending on where you are in the interstate system, when you get to where the traffic splits I-10 West at Clearview will determine whether you go towards Baton Rouge or if you go up 55 towards Mississippi. So you've really got to review that on our website, look at our contraflow maps, and make a determination if in fact you're caught in contraflow so you know where you're going to go. We stand ready to support the New Orleans Police Department on the re-entry as well. With that said, if you have another website that you can go to, which is www.511la.org, and it'll give you all of our road closures during that type of event. Thank you.
Aaron Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness maintains comprehensive plans for all types of man-made and natural disasters, including hurricanes. As with every hurricane season, we're working closely with our local, state, and federal officials, many of those partners you see here with us today. We've already conducted several exercises, including city-assisted evacuation plan and medical special needs sheltering. We will continue to conduct exercises throughout the hurricane season and encourage our citizens to participate with us. We want to tell everyone that it's important in order for us to be ready, every citizen must be ready. We want you to go to ready.nola.gov, call 311 for more information about the city-assisted evacuation plan. At ready.nola.gov, you can sign up to receive NOLA Ready alerts, so those text alerts and email alerts that can provide you the critical life-saving information from the city and from our partners. Particularly important on there is how to form an emergency plan if you don't have one. Now's the time. Take the time with your friends, family, and loved ones to do that. We've additionally got resources for pet owners, those with medical special needs, as has been mentioned. Key message today is that a prepared city is a safe city. Show your commitment, assist us and all of our team members by taking that individual action that the mayor said. Preparedness starts with every citizen. Thank you.
Cedric Grant and Charlotte Bear.
Good afternoon. Surgeon Water Board is fully prepared for the coming hurricane season. We're in constant communication with the Army Corps of Engineers, the Levee District, and nearby parishes and affiliated federal and state agencies to ensure our response. This includes that we've now got emergency contracts for pre-stage generators at our key facilities. Emergency response boats and communication equipment is in place at our drainage pumping stations. Our ELC is operational at the main water plant to coordinate our response to emergency events. We have 300 full-time staff on station to man those stations. And our city and Surgeon Water Board crews are checking out catch basins, drainage lines, and pump stations to make sure they're clear. What we would encourage is residents can help us by making sure the catch basins are clear of debris. Now is the time for residents and business owners to make sure they're prepared. Consider making improvements to your home or business to make it more resilient to New Orleans. So when we go through this tropical storm, as Aaron indicated, you can be a safe city. Thank you.
Charlotte Bear.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and good afternoon. Again, to reiterate to everyone, the Health Department prepares year-round to identify citizens who have special medical needs. We encourage everyone who has family members or friends who may have special medical needs and need to be registered with us to call 311. You will then be sent to the Health Department to be evaluated, and then we can put you on our registry to know where you are in case there is an evacuation. In partnership with hospitals, nursing homes, community health centers, dialysis providers, home health and hospital providers, we spend our time making sure that they are prepared, that they have plans in place, and are in constant communication with them in terms of how they will react in an emergency. We do outreach events, so look for us out in the public to get information, but primarily, again, look to NOLA.ready.gov for that information on how to create a plan and utilize that plan to create one for your family members who have medical needs. Thank you.
Now for each one of our council members. Alphabetical.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just important few topics. Make sure you check on your neighbor. Make sure you especially check on our senior population that lives throughout the city of New Orleans. Have your transportation plan together. Refill your medications, especially be able to have your hard copy insurance information. I know it's a sore subject for a lot of people who are homeowners, but make sure you know what your rights are and the hurricane deductible. The other thing is, I would ask business owners, please follow the government's lead. When the government tells you not to send, for people to stay indoors, please don't tell your employees to go to work. That creates a demand on our first responders. And I would also say to the citizens, if you want to read a book and lights are out, please don't use candles. You know, we don't want our homes or businesses going up in flames because somebody decided to use candles. But other than that, State Police spoke of the contraflow with respect to which way you're trying to go. So pay attention and be ready and be safe.
Thank you. Councilmember Cantrell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would just add that as we approach the summer months, just to remind our parents to have get access to evacuation plans from the summer camps that your children will be participating in. In addition, as school begins to start in August, again, remind yourselves of what those plans are at each school site. Councilmember Brosette mentioned neighbors. You know, at the end of the day, bottom line, the first responders are the people you live around. And so right now what we're seeing growing throughout the city of New Orleans, our residents are using the technology from nextdoor.com. And this is a way to ensure that you can stay connected with your neighbors if, in fact, we must evacuate. Really can't stress that enough. But this is not a show. This is real. So let's take precautions, get prepared, and make sure you sign up if you are in need of help. NOLA.ready.gov. Thank you.
The people standing up here are an important part of the team that will keep you safe. But the most important part of that team is you. All the speakers have said the same thing about you should take responsibility for doing the things that you need to do to keep yourself, your family, your neighbors safe. Remember, no matter how good this team is, unless you do your part, you won't be safe. Thank you.
So as you can see, it takes a huge amount of coordination. We have the Corps of Engineers with us. We have the Coast Guard with us. Entergy is with us. The Sewage and Water Board is with us. None of these folks work in isolation. They all work as a team. I can also assure the people of New Orleans that I will be in constant touch with the local officials on the federal, state, and local level. Should a storm manifest itself, the governor and I will be, and his team will be in daily communication. I also will be in daily communication with the parish presidents because we all have to form a consensus about how to move people, when to move people. I will say this on behalf of all of them. We will do everything we can to continue to focus on the number one priority, which is to save lives. And we don't make decisions without consulting all of these folks around here. So when we make the call about whether to go or not go, the most important thing is to ask you to listen, and beforehand to make sure you have a plan. Because if all of these individuals behind us are spending all of their time rescuing somebody that should have left, it stops them from actually doing the work that they need to do. So again, personal responsibility, getting a plan, making sure you know where you're going to go, what you're going to do, listening when the warnings come, not coming back before you can. We know about all of these things. Everybody also knows that even in a low hurricane season, it only takes one bad storm to put you in a position that you don't want to be in. So